Hi guys, Toge here with a new video, and this video will be a Elemental Shaman PvP guide video for The War Within, and this is for Season 1, and it is also a ultimate guide, so it is going to be quite lengthy, so please take something to drink, take something to note if you want to. You have also the links of the builds in the comments, but obviously I would also advise you to watch the video so you do understand the POVs and what you need to know to be successful at Elemental Shaman. A quick word about Elemental Shaman. Elemental Shaman has been changed from Dragonflight to The War Within. The War Within is not as spammy on lava burst as it was before because the lava surges got nerfed to a certain extent, and it makes that you are not going to do lava every single time, especially at lower haste levels. We are also having a great time with surviving because it does feel like you're a bit more sturdy than in Dragonflight, but you need to also understand that you are also one of the most immobile specs caster-wise in the game. You have Shadow Priest, which is like the most immobile spec, and then you have Elemental Shaman. There is no like other spec that would be more immobile than Elemental Shaman right now. Warlocks have TP, has portal, has multiple ways to run away very efficiently, also quite easily. Mages have blink. You have bounce druids being able to shapeshift, but also like leap away. They could also do all other things that are quite interesting as well. And evokers are like the most mobile ones, and even hunters are also quite mobile. So again, Elemental Shaman, you should also understand that with current landscape, you are bound to cast a lot more, but you have some builds that are a bit less casting than others. So I'm going to talk about it on the build section. What am I going to discuss with you guys? I'm going to discuss with you the stats, which are very important. So please take a look, because it is not the same as in Dragonflight. You cannot really build however you want. You have your tier sets. I'm going to discuss about that. Is it important? Which piece you should go for? I'm going to talk about the builds. I have two builds for you that I recommend that are good and also competitive, but also fun to play. And then you have multiple like little builds that you can change, but that's at your own discretion. Then we have also the PvP talents, which I'm going to discuss about it, and I'm going to talk about comps, which comps you can play, how is it in 2s, 3s, solo shuffle, solo QRBGs, and in open world PvP a bit. And then we're going to talk about the rotation. How do you get your damage off, and how do you do your burst rotation, and in general, what is the game plan of a Elemental Shaman. Then we are going to talk about macros and tips and tricks, and I think the video will be done approximately 40-45 minutes, hopefully a bit less, but you know me, I like to drag a bit, but I try to also interest you and give you a lot of information on this video, so you don't really ask a lot of questions outside of this video. Anyways, let's start right away. Elemental Shaman. Big. You need haste. Haste is king. I know that some people were playing full mastery in Dragonflight, which I understand. Or you have some people that were building full crit, which is going to kind of disappear in November with the rework, which I did discuss today. So if you want to check that out, you can always check that out. But haste is king because you want to have as many lava surges as possible, so you can have like those instant lava burst procs, or just helping you with actually casting. GCDs are also very important. Any global is important for Elemental Shaman, and just Shaman in general, to be fair. And then Mastery has been reworked to the point where I don't think it's very worth it to like go full on Mastery until like a certain point in the season. For example, Season 3, if it comes, or Season 4, if it exists in The War Within. Then it becomes a bit more interesting to go full mastery for getting the increased damage on elemental and physical damage. But the overload part has been nerfed. So you have your lightning bolt, ice fury, lava burst, chain lightning cast have a 25% chance, so that is my mastery, to trigger a second cast on the same target. And the baseline is dealing 25% of normal damage and generating less maelstrom. So the damage is not like 80% or 60% or whatever percentile it was in Dragonflight. Now it's 25%, so the damage is a lot less. But you do get like a need buff, which is the increase all elemental damage. So it means that your lava burst is also increased, your lightning bolt is increased, even your flame shock is increased, even all your totems are increased. So that is quite neat, but it's never going to like scale that well, at least in season 1, and you kind of need at least 15 to 17% haste. That will come with better itemization or with like your gems. If you're having gems and sockets on your gear, with like being full conquest, you will have around 20% haste, 21% haste, and a bit of mastery and a bit of versatility. But that's very important. And versatility is something you kind of want to cap it, like soft cap it at 30%. But right now, I think I sit at around 25% versatility in PvP, maybe a bit less, but you will see. Now, enchants, gems, sockets, I'll be discussing it in a separate video once it is relevant. I don't think a lot of people are socketing right now like on honor gear because it's crazy. It's a lot of time you have to spend like in BGs. I don't think everyone is doing that. But I'm going to do a separate video for that, for enhanced and elemental shaman, and just in general video. But now your precog is on a gem, so you will have to socket at one point to get a precog on your like elemental shaman, for example, or even enhancement shaman for that matter. Tierset. Let's talk about Tierset. It is quite important. We have a Tierset which is probably one of the best ones in the game right now because of the pure, unadulterated like values that you get from it. Earth Shock is one of the biggest abilities that you have right now that deals insane amount of damage. It also works for Elemental Blast, but I think the haste levels are not high enough to play Elemental Blast instead of Earth Shock, so that might happen at one point. But right now, Earth Shock is king, and Earth Shock damage increased by 25%. Earthquake also by 25%, but that doesn't really matter in PvP. But the Earth Shock 25%, I think it is 12.5% in PvP. But if it's not 12.5%, it is a massive buff. Like I crit around 1 million to 1.1 million Earth Shocks. So give a 12% buff to that, it actually adds up to 120k damage just for having a 2-set. Then you have your 4-set, which is spending Maelstrom grants you 5% increased critical strike chance and 10% increased critical strike damage dealt. So that's insane because you do spend Maelstrom with Earth Shock, so it's a Earth Shock set or Elemental Blast set, but most people are going to play Earth Shock, I think, in season 1. It's a lot of value, like front-loaded value, and I think any Elemental Shaman is going to need a 4-set. Now, the good thing is, most pieces that you want to take as Elemental Shaman, you want to do that as well for Enhancement Shaman, so you can easily respec if you want to, if you like also Enhancement Shaman main like me. So which pieces do you go for? The legs is probably the first one you need, 100%, because it's Mastery Haste, which are 2 good stats. Then you have your hands, Critical Strike and Haste. That's not really sexy. We have chest, which is versatility crit, which is also not that sexy. Then you have haste versatility, which is your shoulders, which is quite good. So your 2 first pieces should be legs and shoulders. And then I would say your third would be your head, which is mastery crit. Mastery is still like a good stat. It's better than, I would say, versatility on a tier piece. Then you have like the discomfort of choosing between 2 heavy crit pieces, and I would say if you can craft a chest piece or you buy just a normal chest piece, you should do that and do not change it with a tier set, because it is actually a big piece which gives a lot of stats, and you might like to have a bit more good stats instead of like kind of bad ones, which is crit, to be fair. Your hands have also crit, but at least it has haste, and it's a lower tier piece, I would say, because it's only 700 conquest. So the amount of stat allocation on that piece is a lot less. So I should say, like, if you have a choice, do not take hands. Obviously, if you do some PvE or you're raiding or whatever, or Mythic Plus or whatever, you get it on the vault, just take it, but replace it once you are fully geared and you can actually like choose the pieces that you want. So for me, it's legs, hands, Excuse me. So if you have chest, for example, and you get it like in the vault, um, from PvE, then you take it, but you would replace it with crafting gear. And hands, I would say you keep it because it is what it is. It is crit haste, but at least you have haste. You have legs, and then you would take shoulders and helm. So those 4 pieces are needed. Chest is really like, look, you got it in a vault and you're doing Mythic Plus, why not, right? But I would say that if you're doing PvP, you have like Conquest to spend or crafting materials to craft chest, I would do that. So the heraldries that you would get, for example, from the quest, you could do that for the chest, or you could make yourself the heraldries by buying Conquest and then doing some crafting. So I did make a video about gearing, so you can always check that out. But here is that. So that's very important. Again, stats are actually very important because people don't understand that it is not Dragonflight. You cannot go simply like mastery or crit and expect great results. You need haste. If you want to make it, or at least do well in PvP, especially in arenas, you kind of need haste. And yes, in YOLO RBGs or solo queue RBGs or whatever you are going to call it, I would say like mastery or crit, you could make it work maybe if you're not a target, but most of the time it is train blue, and train blue is train shaman, and train shaman means you are going to be trained. So do play your haste, and it will be playing a lot better. Let's talk about builds. Builds is also very important, and this build is the one I would recommend to 80% of the elemental shamans, which are the elemental shamans that are known with how it played in Dragonflight. So on the class tree, a few notable things that you need to know. We take nature swiftness because we are playing Farseer. I'm going to talk about Farseer very quickly after, but we take nature swiftness to improve your ancestral swiftness from Farseer. We have now Stone Bulwark Totem, which is a big shield. We have it also as Enhancement Shaman, and that is enough to actually make you survive a lot of damage. And if you're using it to like do it before a go, it could help you survive a damage without using your big CDs or without using a totem, for example, a trinket, for example. So there is that, but obviously it's a 3-minute CD, which cannot be resetted by totem recall, unfortunately. Before you could, because it was a 2-minute CD, but now it's a 3-minute CD, so it is not possible. We are playing with Gust of Wind. Why? Because it is 20 seconds, and trust me, if someone charges you, you want to get away from the warrior. So realistically, you could always kite a warrior. Warrior should never be a problem for kiting. Windwalkers as well, depending on how they play, of course, they could play very well. But I think the one that has the most problems for you are, like, let's say rogues and DHs. Why rogues? Because they have cloak, which is very annoying, and they could cloak something very important, or a DH that has glimpse and can just come back very quickly to you. So we are playing with Windrush Totem, but to be fair, you can always like swap that out and get Totemic Projection depending on what PvP talent you're going to play. But if you're not really playing any specific totems that you want to displace, you could just take it away, because it's only like a 10-second CD to displace totems that you're not using. So you could take Windrush Totem, which is always going to be nice. Or you could take Ancestral Guidance, which you could put it in on your Primordial Wave macro and basically just toggle it and forget about it. Like a 2-minute CD, every 2 minutes you're going to get an Ancestral Guidance kind of thing. You could also play like lower CD Hex, which is also quite interesting. Or if you're playing versus a Destruction Warlock, Seasoned Winds is always going to be nice. Or even Affliction Warlock for that matter, because they do cast Haunt, so you can always kick that. Or Malefic Ruptures. And if you're playing versus a Shaman, it's always nice to be cleansing the curses, which are, for example, Hex. There is that. Now let's talk about the spec tree, because I think the class tree is already like talked about multiple times. Yeah, another question: why Greater Purge and not Purge? That depends if you want to spam Purge or not. If you're not spamming Purge, if you're not at least like purging every 12 seconds three beneficial magic effects, then it's useless. It's better to have Greater Purge, so you could actually purge 2 effects every 12 seconds. It is a CD, so you will not forget about it. But purge, sometimes you take it and you're not going to use it, so you will lose a lot of value. Obviously, if you're purging more than 2, so it is 3, in 12 seconds time, then it's way more worth it than greater purge. But that really depends on you actually hitting that ability. So I prefer greater purge because it's easy to do. Sometimes it takes out directly Bob, sometimes it is not taken away, which is very annoying, but it is what it is. We don't also have a lot of time to like spam purge. We are not shadow priests. Our dots are not incredible. So yeah. SPEC tree, which is interesting, is that now the first node is a choice node between Earth Shock and Elemental Blast. I would say that later seasons would be interesting to play around Elemental Blast because it does more damage. But the issue is obviously that Earth Shock right now it's not really an issue, but it is very good and it's instant, so you don't need to cast too much, and your haste levels are too low to have like Elemental Blast being like super important. We have Fire Elemental, obviously. We have Aftershock. Why? Because this is an Earth Shock build. So, didn't call the name, but it is an Earth Shock build. You really want to do a lot of Earth Shocks. Earth Shock is the kill potential. You have your Lava Burst and your Ascendance and your Primordial Waves that are doing damage. But more often than not, you're going to surprise a lot of the damage with your Earth Shock spams. And sometimes you will get a lot of like refunds on your Earth Shock, which can actually leads to a KO. So it's very, very strong. Then you're going to take Unrelenting Calamity to get Primordial Fury and Swelling Maelstrom, which gives you a lot of Maelstrom, plus also Primordial Capacity, which is also giving you 25 Maelstrom. So you will see your Maelstrom bar is becoming very big. So you can actually like take a lot of like Maelstrom onto your bar. For example, you can have right now a lot of like opportunities for you to triple Earth Shock very easily, and that's without Aftershock counted, right? So you have 100 Maelstrom plus 50 plus 25. So if you can count, it costs 55 Maelstrom, so 55 times 3. You can basically do a triple Earth Shock without a problem, without Aftershock counted. So at one point you could also have a lot of luck and do like 6 Earth Shocks in a row, which is like lethal. We're taking every single thing that is improving Lava Burst though, because Lava Burst is also very important in this build. Lightning Bolt is not as important, unfortunately not in this build, and we're not really playing around a Volcanic Surge, which is going to be removed next patch, in 2 months time. So that's unlucky, but overall you don't play with that in this build. You could play that, it doesn't really matter, but it does matter, but it does make it a bit more clunky because casting Lava Burst with the lower levels of haste that we have is not that efficient. It's very long cast, like it's a 1.8 second cast, which in Classic people would love, but in retail 1.8 seconds is like an eternity. And we're taking the Ice Fury Towns. Ice Fury is now like something that is going to be replacing Frost Shock once you have like a proc from Lava Burst. That is going to be changed as well in 2 months, but I will be making a video for that like in 2 months time whenever the rework is up. I'm going to make a guide for that as well. But Ice Fury is interesting because it improves your Frost Shock, but also gives you an opportunity to do Elemental Blast at your target at 60% effectiveness, which is still some damage. And that can be activated, for example, with Primordial Wave, because it has a nature and a fire spell. So that's quite nice. And then you have also casting Frost Shock improves your Lava Burst, so you can actually deal some insane amount of damage because of that. And now we have the interesting things. So we have Ascendance, which is now a 2-minute CD with Fire First Ascendant, which is very strong. But we also have deeply rooted elements, so it's not like a choice node anymore, so you can have both. And in this build it actually works. Obviously you kind of have to be lucky with deeply rooted elements, it is what it is, but now you have both, so you could actually say, look, if I'm unlucky, at least I have the Ascendance, and if I'm very lucky, I could have a lot of burst that was not possible like in Dragonflight, for example. We're playing with Echo of the Elements. again, that's something that is adding more damage. So you're putting a fire elemental, you're going to get like a mini fire elemental afterwards that does some okay damage, which is kind of bad, but it is what it is, and you kind of need it because you want to have Skybreaker's fire demise, which is also going to be gone, unfortunately. But it is going to be giving you also a lot of bad damage because of flame shock critting for 25% critical strike chance increased, which is quite nice, and reducing the CD of fire elemental. And then we have also prime elementalist, which is I think a given. It does like your combo, you get a meteor from fire elemental, you get a stun from earth elemental, which gives you a lot more liberty to perform in PvP. We have primordial wave. There is also the question, why not splintered elements? Because it is nerfed. It is now 10% haste plus 4% for each additional lava burst, which is nice, but often or not you actually need the haste before you're actually bursting, but it only activates once you have bursted. So is it worth it to take or not? You could always like remove something. You could remove Skybreaker's fire demise if you want to. You can put it in splintered elements. But I would say in general, for most people, you kind of play with this build, you're going to be feeling okay, and you're going to feel very, very damagey in arenas. In RBGs, solo RBGs, you could actually play with splintered elements and then have like multiple flame shocks and can actually get a lot of haste because of that. But in arenas where you only have 3 targets, it's only going to give you 4% for each additional lava burst. So you can count, obviously, this like you can do, for example, for 3 targets, it will be 12%, 10%, it's going to be 22%. But you could also get it from Shamanism, which is 20% every minute. So that aside, we have also liquid magma totem, which is now kind of free to take, and it is giving you another way to get those flame shocks out, which is important because you want to have as many flame shocks out to do a lot of damage with your lava burst and get also a lot of lava surges procs that gives you again more damage on lava burst and more instant damage on lava burst. So that is pretty much the explanation on the spec tree for this build. Now Farseer, there's nothing real new about it. I did talk about it before, but I'm going to repeat it. Farseer gives Call of the Ancestors. So Primordial Wave calls an ancestor to your side for 10 seconds. Whenever you're going to cast a healing spell or a damaging one, it's going to cast a similar spell. So that is like a mirror. It is like, you can see it as like a kind of elemental overload damage. It's good, but it's also not that fantastic either. It's still going to be nice. It's going to give you some okay damage, but what we want is actually in the middle of the tree and at the end of the tree. So we have Ancient Follower Fellowship. So ancestors have 20% chance to call another ancestor for 10 seconds when they expire. To be fair, both can work. I do play that most of the time, but sometimes I do want to have like the extra oomph from Farseers, so from ancestors. So I do take Latent Wisdom. So you have a choice to make. I do play this one. You could play here the additional 4 seconds. So I think it was 6 seconds and it is 10 seconds with this. You could also play with routine communication. But my issue with that is it is already a lot of RNG to get deeply rooted elements. I don't want to add another RNG aspect on the tree. Again, you can play that. I think it's really flavor. You could have a lot of luck and then you have your build enabled, but you could also like never call an extra ancestor with your lava burst. So then you really get no value with that. Although here you have like every 30 seconds you get like a 10-second ancestors. You can have a double one even. So right now I prefer this one because I got really unlucky with this one. So it is from experience that I don't play with this. You get an extra charge of lava burst, which is quite nice, but also quite like an extra damage. Spirit Walker's momentum, which is very strong. So using a spell with a cast increases the duration of grace and ages by 1 second, up to a maximum of 4 seconds. So you can actually do your Spirit Walker's grace and just spam lava bursts, and people are not going to be able to interrupt you for a long time. So for example, here we have a 5-second immunity on interrupts and silences. You can have a 4-second increase on that, so it will be 9 seconds. Over like 60% of the time of your Spirit Walker's grace is going to be used with your immunity up, which is quite good. Final calling, so when an ancestor expires, they cast elemental blast at a nearby enemy. This seems a bit bugged. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, which is weird, but it is what it is. Again, the increase on your maximum maelstrom by 25 is already explained, but it gives you the possibility to do triple Earthshock, which is very important on this build. We have increased Earthshock damage with this build as well, but also increased healing, which is always going to be nice. We have when an ancestor is called, they reduce the CD of your fire elemental by 5. You call 2 every 30 seconds, so I would say every 3 minutes you're going to have 6 times like 10, 60 seconds of reduced CD every 3 minutes. So it's going to be quite nice, but it's not going to be like massive either. I don't know if I did count correctly. I think I didn't count correctly. I might count it correctly though. So 6 times like 10 because it's like 2 ancestors. But overall, it's nice to have. But you have like other stuff that is reducing CDR on the fire elemental more drastically, I would say. Now you have also a choice node, which is Natural Harmony or Earthen Communion. This is Nature's Garden, so it's every 45 seconds and 35% below, you're getting a 20% increase, like instantly heal for your maximum HP, which is quite nice. And this is reducing the CD, so it becomes at 30 seconds and causes an additional 10%. So instead of 20%, it's going to be 30% every 30 seconds, which is quite good. But I do like Earthen Commune because it gives you more healing on your Earth Shield, but also more stacks. So it really depends on your playstyle. Ancestral Swiftness, which is nice. It is a improvement on Nature Swiftness. Instead of a 1 minute CD, it is a 30-second CD, and your next healing or damaging spell is instant, costs no mana, deals 10% increased damage and healing. But also, if you already know Nature Swiftness, it's giving you an Ancestor, which is big, which gives you again the 2 Ancestors every 30 seconds because you're going to mesh Primordial Wave with your Ancestral Swiftness to get like the big burst rotation that I'm going to discuss a bit further down the line. Now let's talk about PvP talents for this build, and then I'm going to switch the build for the second build so I can discuss about it as well, and the rotation will be done for those 2 builds as well. So the talents that I use for this build are one that I always take because I do like the damage. I feel like Totem Rough Wrath is kind of needed. You get it every 30 seconds, which is quite nice. And gives you 15% more damage on your Lava Burst, and also for all your friends. That is quite nice. Then you have like 2 talents where I do switch most of the time. Shamanism is like less likely to be switched because I do like the haste, and I do give it to my friends as well. So it is going to add you more damage. But until they fix it, in random mages I would not play that because you get like Shamanism or like you get Bloodlust for something else. You get a debuff for 10 minutes and then you cannot really use that anymore. So in random mages I don't play that. In arenas I do play that. In soul mages I do play that as well. Then of course I'm playing Unleash Shield with most melee lobbies because I do like to be very annoying. So if a warrior charges me, I Thunderstorm. If the warrior charges me again, I Unleash Shield, and then I'm going to Earth. I'm going to Earth Grab Totem on him, for example. If then they are like jumping on me with Heroic Leap, I Frost Shock them, obviously for the slow, and then Gust of Wind, and I'm gone. They are not going to be able to stop me. They're going to Stormbolt me, obviously, but they're going to lose a lot of uptime on that Stormbolt. So warriors are actually easy matchups for elemental shamans in general. The DKs, the windwalkers, and the DHs are actually the annoying part, but also rogues, which I find very annoying. If you're playing versus casters, there are no reason to not play Grounding Totem. It's always awesome. In Soul Shuffle, you can test Counter-Strike Totem for 1 round. If they don't destroy it, it is high value. If they do destroy it, then just swap it out and play something else. Static Field Totem has been nerfed. It is now a 1.4 minute CD, which is big. Like a 100 second CD. And I do not enjoy to have like that long of a CD, but it can make you win games. but I don't like the long CD at all. And you could maybe reduce it with Totemic Recall, but it's a lot of like annoying parts to make something good, like just okay. So Volcanic Surge can be played on this build, but it is not recommended. It is better for the second build that I'm going to show you, because you want those instant lava surges procs that are going to give you a lot of instant lava bursts, which is going to be your bread and butter with Earthshock. Burrow is interesting because it gives you an immunity. Not really immunity because you can die through dots, but it is giving you a possibility to hide for a few seconds. So yeah, that's always nice. And Electrocute, never play that. So this is for this build. Now I'm going to show you the second build, which is the Stormbringer build, which I like to play. Is it going to be competitive? I don't know. I think it's going to be competitive depending on the comps that you're going to face. Again, the class tree, I already discussed about it. A lot of points are interchangeable if you want to have like totemic projection. That's nice to have, and it depends on the totems that you're playing. On your elemental side of the tree, you kind of disregard a lot of those like talents that are going to give you a bit more maelstrom or a bit more ice, like frost shock damage. For example, those two we're not going to take. We still want to play around your lava burst because lava burst is going to hurt. And because of this build, I actually play Volcanic Surge because I do get benefits on lava burst, I do get benefits on lightning bolts, but also chain lightning. And sometimes chain lightning is going to do some good work with arc discharge, for example. As a whole, this build is revolving around your lightning bolt, which is doing a lot of damage. Don't sleep on it. We have lava burst doing also its work. It's going to be quite good as well. And we have obviously the good things, which are Primordial Wave and your Stormkeeper, and also your Earthshock. Earthshock still hurts with this build, a bit less than with Farseer, but it is still there. It's still very important because you want to proc those Storm Frenzies, which gives you faster casts, which is also working on Tempest as well. Lightning Conduit, we take it because it's nature damage increase, always nice. We have Thunderstrike Ward, and it actually deals okay damage. It is adding more damage on your Lightning Bolt, and all those lethal damages that are added to your Lightning Bolt and your Tempest are also very, very useful because those are the damages that are needed to down someone. We have Stormkeeper and Fury of the Storms, which gives you a powerful lightning elemental, which is again doing some good damage for you. Then we're still playing with Skyber's Fiery Demise, but you can always hop it out and take Lightning Rod if you want to, or you can take even Deeply Rooted Elements, although again you're not spamming Lava Burst as much as the previous build, so you don't get a lot of value on that talent as well. You could always play the Echo of the Elements to get like an extra lesser elemental, which is quite nice, or you could play with Splintered Elements to get more haste after you have done your burst. But that is preference. I, for example, right now like Skybreaker's Fire Demise because it does reduce the CD of Fire Elemental, but also gives you a lot of pad damage with Flame Shock, which is always going to be needed if you want to win the game at the long run. Again, Elemental Equilibrium is also very easy to proc because it is just with Primordial Wave, and you have like 30-second CD on both, so it just goes well together. And your burst is going to revolve around like a Primordial Wave with like multiple targets, doing a lot like a Stormkeeper before to have it already, doing a Lava Burst into a Stormkeeper Lightning Bolt into Earthshocks, and then another Lava Burst, for example, depending on your Maelstrom level. So it does a lot of damage. Now let's talk about the Stormbringer hero talent, which is one of my favorite hero talents in the game. I really like it. It just needs a bit of buffs here and there, but it is viable. And in the next patch, which is 11.0.5, which is the anniversary, they're going to buff Stormbringer for enhancement and also elemental shaman. So it's going to be a bit better than right now. But we have increased damage on nature spells, always awesome because we're playing around lightning bolt. We get like a double chain lightning spell instant and 40% increased damage. Right now, it will be nerfed in 2 months, but for now it is 40%. And if you remember Stormkeeper in PvP, it only adds 30% increased damage. So it is you can see that as a mini Stormkeeper for only chain lightning, which is always going to be awesome and giving you a lot of maelstrom generation. Because of that, you get like a mini lightning rod because of Tempest, which is quite awesome. And then you have also a few procs that are adding more damage with your lightning bolt and chain lightning, also Tempest with awakening storms that is going to then proc Tempest if you have done it 3 times. We have shocking grasp, which is reducing the movement speed whenever you're going to crit. It is awesome because sometimes you don't have a flash shock on your enemy, and if you're critting your major spells, you don't need that, so it's always welcome. You have gain 1 stack of Stormkeeper every 50 seconds. In PvP, this every 100 seconds. It is unfortunate that you cannot really control it. Sometimes you don't need that, but it is there right now. So we have reduced damage taken for enemies that are struck by Tempest, which is always going to be interesting. We have unlimited power, so every time you're going to spend Maelstrom, we're going to grant you a 1% haste, and it is stacking but not refreshing. So that's going to be interesting if you're getting a lot of procs for your Earth Shocks. You get Supercharge, which again gives you 50% chance to cause an additional elemental overload, which is interesting because you are going to deal some good damage with just 1 lightning bolt, for example. And then you're getting a chain lightning buff by 15% in PvP. Interesting. So this is the build, and those are the PvP downs I would play with this build. Let's talk about 2s. In 2s, Elemental Shaman is a dampening spec. So what do I mean by that? In 2v2, don't expect to win the game in the first few seconds, because healing is still very strong. You can actually just not kill someone without like an MS effect very efficiently, or if you kind of need them to like overplay their hand, and then you're going to punish them. But what is likely going to happen in 2v2 is that you're playing with a resto druid, for example, and you're playing until dampening to a point where your damage is unhealable. It is very boring. I don't like those 5, 6, 7 minute games of 2v2s. If you like it, more power to you. You could also play double DPS, but again, double DPS as Elemental Shaman, it's not as funny because you don't really have instant healing. Your defensives are not that good. If you're getting stunned, it is GG's kind of feel. So right now, stick with a healer, and if you want to, even stick with 3v3 where I feel like they are there to shine. You can play with a caster. So for example, Affliction Warlock with Elemental Shaman is for me one of the better comps in the game, but I think Affliction Warlocks right now really want to play with Shadow Priest because they are both very strong. You could play with them. You could also play Devastation Evoker, Elemental Shaman. It is very bursty, but you lack the MS effect. You can play with a Demonology Warlock, you can play with a Destruction Warlock, you can play with a Shadow Priest even, you can play with a Balanced Druid that is also very strong. Cyclone Hex is very strong. Those two CCs are together really annoying to deal with. So I would recommend to play with a caster to have fun. You could also play a more fun comp, which is with a melee, for example, with a warrior or with a DH or with a windwalker. But those comps, you know that your name is written on the wall, you're going to get trained, and that is most likely not going to be very fun. In solo queue RPGs, your role is really to be in fights. You are not really a good 1v1er. You are not going to win a lot of duels. That's why if you're dueling here, for example, most of the time you're going to struggle. Or if you're doing like skirmishes, double DPS, you're going to struggle. Or in random BGs where you do the occasional 1v1s, you're going to struggle. Sometimes you're going to destroy someone, but some specs just are better duelers because they have more tools. In open world PvP, I don't rate Elemental Shaman too high because they are really easy to stop, and it's very annoying to like have a 1v1 where your spells are stopped like H24, and a lot of people have like invisible, like for example, rogues have Shadow Cloak, right? Cloak of Shadows, excuse me. And that alone just really annihilates every occasion you have to win versus them in 1v1s. Warriors are okay to face in open world PvP. I would say DHs are really annoying to face in 1v1 open PvP. Windwalkers as well. So you have just a few matchups where you're doing okay in 1v1s. And that's why some people do feel like they're like less strong than in Dragonflight. But it is truly shining in Soul Shuffle and 3v3, Why Soul Shuffle? Because melee cleaves are also easier for you to deal damage if you're playing the right build. If you're playing Stormbringer, it's not going to have fun. If you play Farseer with like instant lava burst, you can actually deal some good damage while trained. You also have tools like pushing them and re-pushing them, Earthbind them. You can also like Gust of Wind away. Again, it's easier said than done. They have multiple gap closers as well. But as Elemental Shaman, gaining a bit of time just gives you more time to deal damage. In general, you're going to end, even in those lobbies, like top 2, top 1 damage, because you have a lot of pad damage, but also a lot of like safe damage of safe bursts that are always going to be occurring. Primordial Wave is a 30-second CD, and basically your goes are tied to Primordial Wave. So it's really cool to play Soul Shuffle. It's actually annoying sometimes, depending on who you're facing. Like, for example, triple DKs are not fun. Let's not forget about that. But in general, if you're facing, like, let's say a mixed like Soul Shuffle with like 2 casters, 2 melees, you could actually have like one of the better lobbies in the game. So I would say that Soul Shuffle, it does fare well. From the testing I made with my guild, I do feel like Soul Shuffle, they are quite good, but it will depend on who you're facing. If you're facing like a rogue with a DK, it's really hard to do anything. It depends on the healer actually. But yeah, those are the expedition on 2v2, 3v3, Soul Shuffle, Solo Queue RBG, and even a bit of open world PvP. Now let's talk about the rotation. Now, I am currently Stormbringer, so I'm going to show you the Stormbringer damage. I'm going to do it on a PvE dummy. Why? Because I cannot Primordial Wave the PvP training dummy, for example. You see, I cannot do that. I don't know why. I always have that bug. I actually need to Primordial Wave like PvE dummies, and I can't fix it. Like I thought it was like a Covenant problem, but it is not a Covenant from Shadowlands problem. I never, like, even Dragonflight, I couldn't never use my Primordial Wave on a like PvP dummy. So I'll just do my go on, well, like a single target. But realistically, what you want to do is you want to triple Flame Shock. So I'm going to do that here. So first thing in the match, you want to put your Earth Shields on you. You want to have Lightning Shield on you. You want to have Sky Fury, which is a new buff that you get for 2% increased mastery. And you want to have Thunder Strike Ward if you're playing the also important Stormbringer build, which are like all in the comment section below. So you can just copy it and there you go. And our build is not around like instant lava burst, but what you want to do is actually like do a bit of a setup. So have a flame shock on one target, try to frost shock them to have like a slow, so you can actually just like do whatever you want. Do a bit of a lightning bolt stormkeepers, for example, if you do get the stormkeeper proc from the Stormbringer talent. And if you are ready to go, you can basically do a frost shock to get like the buff towards your lava burst. And then you can have a liquid magma totem on them. It will give them a lot of like primordial waves, like flame shocks on them. In PvP, it would be only 2 targets, but now I'm going to do that on those training dummies. So for example, if like one target is here, you're going to flame shock him, for example, and you're going to use the totem on them to have like, for example, 3 targets with a flame shock, which is important for your damage. So once you have that, you could also have your Stormkeeper already up, and you're going to do your normal go. So I'm going to show you above of my head. You can see I have the icons of what I'm doing, so you can follow. And afterwards, I'm going to explain what I did. So I do a flame shock on this one, frost shock. I'm going to do a Stormkeeper, and often I do that with a Spirit Walker's Grace. And I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do a Primordial Wave. And then I'm going to do a Lava Burst into the Ascendance, Stormkeeper, Earth Shock, Stormkeeper, Lava Burst spam. You could also just do this, for example. And then you can do also a bit of Lightning Bolt to do damage, which is important. And once you have like a Tempest proc, you can also do a lot of damage with that as well. And always like try to refresh those Flame Shocks if you are like in need of a lot of damage. And it's a 30-second go again, so that's very, very big whenever you are needing to deal damage. And whenever you get like a Stormkeeper proc from Stormbringer, try to like see it with your personal bar, or if you have like a weak aura, you can also follow it with weak auras. Personally, I can see it here in front of my character. I have like a personal bar, so if I see a Stormkeeper, I just use it to deal important damage. So you see, with a bit of burst, you can actually deal some okay damage and some good damage as well. Lava burst in PvP is a bit more like important, like damage wise. And your lightning bolt is, I think, a bit nerfed in PvP, especially Stormkeeper, because Stormkeeper in PvP is only doing 30% more damage. So obviously, if I'm going to do a Stormkeeper, for example, it's going to do some good damage, but not so, like, it's not going to be the same as in PvP. For example, here I did do a normal hit for 1 million, but it's not going to do that much damage in PvP. It's going to be a bit less, but still going to be good. So what did I do? So I kind of need to flame shock someone, for example. Put a totem here, frost shock into primordial wave, and then you can do like a lava burst into like lightning bolts, for example. And you can deal a lot of damage. In your Tempest, try to use it, it does a lot of damage as well. You can also proc it multiple times, and you see your damage is really, really high. And expand those Tempest procs that you get from Arc Discharge, which is also quite important to deal some good damage, because it critted for 1 million, for example, which is really cool. Tempest doing 900k, that's kind of the same in PvP as well. So, and you also have like Tempest Overloads. But again, in PvP, you don't have like 6 targets, which is obvious. But if you're doing here, it's going to be the same, right? So if I put the totems here, primordial wave this one, and then I'm going to do my burst. Stormkeeper. And then you have your earth shocks whenever you can. And since you have a lot of Maelstrom, you can always like keep a bit, and then you can just do your go every single time with this build. This build is really revolving around lightning bolt, guys. So don't be scared to actually cast lightning bolt. And if they do kick your like your lightning bolt, just use your lava bursts. And Tempest does okay damage. So again, if you're capable to do chain lightnings, just do, because it actually hurts for okay damage. But it is instant, so always try to play around that. So yeah, 800k normal hit on Tempest, which is what I do generally in PvP. And Turn Strike, you see, it's like 3%. It is not that big, but you see, whenever it like procs, it actually deals some okay damage. Like if you add your lightning bolt, which is, for example, if I do in PvP, I have Tempest, I'm going to use it. Lightning bolt is doing like 350k, 370k without any procs, without any overloads. And if you're doing a Turn Strike, it actually do some good damage if you're counting that ahead of your lightning bolt, which is also going to be quite nice. Yeah, so what you're doing is a flame shock. You put a totem here, Stormkeeper again, lava burst, ascendance, and try to do your Stormkeeper lightning bolts as well. You can see it can do a lot of damage as a whole. But yeah, it's not easy to pull off. But obviously, you would play this build only if you're playing into like with casters, or into casters. But with casters, you should play the other like this build. And if you're playing, let's say, versus melees, and you are like the only caster in the game, I would play Farseer like all the time, because it's also a lot easier to pull off. So now with the other build, my Stormkeeper is on CD, so I'm going to try to lower the CD with like lightning bolts, so I can change it. All right, I can change it. If I go for like Farseer, can change in combat. Excuse me. Now the go is a lot easier, because you can always go whenever you want, right? So I'm going to show you here, because it's a lot easier for my primordial wave, or else I'm going to do a flame shock here. And if I'm doing go, I try to do a frost shock first. I put the totem, I put the primordial wave, I do a lava burst, earth shock, and then keep on doing lava burst, right? Now, unfortunately, I didn't change my volcanic surge, so I'm going to change it first and then show you again. Now, for this build, like you see, the damage is really high. If you're playing this build like this volcanic surge, but it makes also your spells not being instant, so you have some drawback because of that. But if I play with like my Unleash Shield, again, you see like I have a go every 30 seconds, so we can go again. So I'm going to do that, Frost Shock into Primordial Wave, into Lava Burst, Earth Shock, Lava Burst, Earth Shock. You can see I can do just this every single time. Then Ascendance, for example, Earth Shock, Lava Burst, keep on doing that. You have your Ice Fury, try to spend it again with Frost Shocks, for example, Earth Shock, Lava Burst, Earth Shock, and then you can just keep on casting. You see, even if I have like multiple like Flame Shock, I don't get a lot of like Lava Surges. It is just part of the design that it has been made, like since the change from Dragonflight to the War Within. They don't want you to keep on getting those procs from Lava Burst. They want you to cast, but it also means that you are more powerful whenever you're doing like your cast. Like your Lightning Bolt hurts, your Lava Burst hurts, your Earth Shock hurts a lot, like 760k normal hit. Again, that's not in PvP, I'm in PvE right now, so in PvP it would be a bit higher because of the stats that would be changed, for example. And yeah, I feel like this build is a lot easier for the masses, so I would recommend you guys to play this build. Again, the go is very simple. Earth Shock, Frost Shock into Primordial Wave, for example, and then do your go. You can literally just jump around and do your damage. Boom, someone's close to you. You just like Thunderstorm them away, Unleash Shield them away, for example, and then you can just do your goes with your Frost Shocks, for example, if you get like those procs. Earth Shock here, and then another Lava Burst. And you see the damage can just like continue. And if you do get a Deeply Rooted Element proc, it actually deals a lot of damage and does a lot for you. You see my Assisters do some okay damage, and again, they also spread a lot of like Lava Bursts onto the enemies, so you see 17 hits. Which is also quite nice. Your Liquid Magma Totem doesn't do too much damage, I'm going to say that, but your Earth Shocks, your Flame Shocks, your Lava Burst, those are the heavy hitters. Then you have your Frost Shocks that are sometimes heavy hitters because of Ice Fury, and sometimes you get like those Elemental Blasts from your Ancestors, which are not working on dummies, for example, but normally it does work, and it gives you a lot of like those oomph moments. So I'm going to show you another time the go, the last time I will be showing. So Flame Shock one target here, and I'm going to do Primordial Wave, another Ascendance here, and you can just do your go. And your priority is always Earth Shock, Flame Lava Burst, by the way. Even if you have like an Ice Fury stack, don't bother with it. Sometimes you can do it if you don't get a Lava Surge proc. Instant cast is always going to be your most important spells that you want to throw. So if I have to say, this build is the most competitive one. You see I did a 2.6 million Earth Shock, which is ridiculous. The priority of spells that you need to do, if you get like everything lighting up, so for example your Ice Fury is lighting up, your Earth Shock is lighting up, your Lava Burst is lighting up, which one do you want to throw? First and foremost, depends on your Maelstrom. If your Maelstrom is capped, just Earth Shock. If you have a Lava Surge proc, you want to do Lava Surge. If you are Lava Burst, if you're not capped maximum on Maelstrom. Because again, Maelstrom can wait. You can always do Earth Shock at any point whenever you don't get a Lava Surge. Lava Surge has the priority because you don't want to lose or like waste stacks of Lava Surges. So have that as a priority. Then Earth Shocks, because again, you want to do instants first. Earth Shock. If you have no Earth Shock available and you don't have a Lava Surge available, wait if you get an Ice Fury. If you do get an Ice Fury proc, do Ice Fury double Frost Shock, for example. You got enough for Earth Shock, do an Earth Shock to deal damage, and obviously try to do Primordial Wave whenever you're going for a go. Again, I'm going to show you another time, because it is satisfying again. So you can do a very easy go with just simple things, right? This is really simple to do. And whenever you have like nothing to cast, you have to cast, so you're doing Lava Bursts, obviously. But now, for example, I can do an Earth Shock. And those are like the priorities. It is PvE. Like it's always like about PvE. Now we can do an earth shock, can do another frost shock, earth shock, frost shock, earth shock. You see, I don't have a proc of lava surge. Now I have nothing light up, and I will just do that. And now I have, for example, frost shock, lava burst, frost shock, earth shock, frost shock, and then I have nothing else. I do just a flame shock, for example. So those are the priorities. Again, before anything, before anyone is going to say that in the comments, yes, having flame shock on the target is priority, but I do feel like that's something that is a given. If you're not having a flame shock, you're not really getting any lava surge procs, but also you're not getting any damage on your lava burst. So always do that, and that is a priority. If you have nothing else to cast and you have flame shocks like falling away, just reapply those flame shocks and do your bursts. So that is my tips and tricks. Now macros, that's quite important. I have a macro for my Greater Purge. So I have Purify Spirit, which is the Dispel, which is Cleanse Spirit, excuse me. I have the other, I have a macro for Restoration Shamans. So obviously it's not the same. So we have this one, Cleanse Spirit and Greater Purge. So if I have an ally and I have it talented, it will give me Cleanse Spirit, which is quite nice if you're facing a Shaman, for example, and Greater Purge, which is a harm macro. Again, if you are like wanting to copy paste, please do pause the video and then copy paste it. We have also our Primordial Wave macro, which is having every single thing into the macro pretty much. Primordial Wave with Heroism PvP talent or Bloodlust if you're like a Horde guy. Nature Swiftness, which also worked with Ancestral Swiftness. It doesn't matter what name you give because it is replaced. So what is replaced also works on the macro. I have Nature Swiftness, but you can also do Ancestral Swiftness, it will work. I have Ancestral Guidance, so if I do Talented, it will also be used in that go. I have Meteor, so if I have my Fire Elemental, you're going to also deal your Meteor with that. And you also have a use 14, so it is the Trinket spot. So if you have an unused Trinket, put it on 14, it will work. That is the macro. We have Hex, which is target focus Hex, which is super important. We have a target focus Wind Shear, which is also super important. And that's pretty much it. You have also your off heal healing surge here and there, but that's more important for enhancement shaman. But those are the macros I'm using right now. So obviously you could always like having a party 1, party 2, party 3. You could also have arena like enemy 1, 2, and 3. But I don't play that. Like I don't need. I just top target. And it works perfectly. You just need to like face the one you're targeting, and it works. Especially in PvP because I have like a keybind change on my targeting. For example, tab, it is target nearest enemy player, so whenever I'm going to tab, it is going to face the one that is going to be in front of me, so it's always going to be interesting. So again, this is pretty much my guide for Elemental Shaman. It is the ultimate PvP guide for Elemental Shaman. It has been 58 minutes, so I did lie, it is not 45 minutes, but I do give a lot of information. I do show you a lot of rotations and a lot of like, again, repeats on what you need to do. Obviously, Fire Elemental, very important. You need to have Fire Elemental up. If you are starting the arena, often you can just have like your Earth Elemental up, which is going to deter a lot of people from hitting you because they are going to say, I'm going to hit the lowest health target, and that is giving you 15% health, which is always going to be nice, but also gives you a stun, which is always going to be needed. You have your Fire Elemental, which is also quite big. You can have a Meteor on auto, or you can play Meteor without the auto cost. That really depends. I play with auto cost because I do put my Fire Elemental whenever I'm going to do my burst, so I kind of need the Meteor as well. But you could also have like not on auto cost and you have your Primordial Wave like call out the Meteor. So it really depends on what you want. But there is that. You want to have your elementals up whenever you have the occasions to have those elemental like Fire Elementals up, for example, because you also get the benefit of the little one here, which is not doing too much damage, but it does okay damage, I guess. So yeah, again, thank you for watching this video. Really appreciate you. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet, and we will catch each other probably very soon in the next video. You will see gameplay videos from elemental shamans and enhancement shamans very soon as well. So once the rated season is going to come out, I will do soul shuffle videos, I will do soul QRPGs videos. I don't feel like random MGs are going to be good content because it's always one-sided. Like it's always a stomp to my team or in front of my team, so it's not really great gameplay. But if I can show you gameplay, I will do that. But sometimes it is just not really valuable because it is a stomp. Like who cares, right? So again, thank you for watching. Have a good day. Bye.